Lola's POV. Elias who? What's going on? I looked at everyone's faces and they looked genuinely shocked. I was thoroughly confused and everyone seemed to know this Elias guy except me. Who's Elias? I asked when it looked like no one was going to talk. He was the rogue king, Natalie managed to say from her position on the floor, where she sat beside her husband who was still writhing in pain. I need to find out why werewolves seem to not heal from pains inflicted by me, but that would be another day. Right now, I need to find out who Elias is and how we can track this person down. Where can we find this Elias guy? I asked with rage burning in my veins. Elias is dead, sweetie, Rose said from where she was seated. Or so we heard. Because if he's dead, who would still be looking for the moon wolf? Jaden inputted his own opinion. I sighed and put my head in my hands. This just keeps leading to a dead end. Before this goes on, I need to know what exactly happened to Mom and Dad and why I can't seem to remember memories from that day, I said, and Natalie began sobbing again, making me roll my eyes. It's Drew that knows everything about it. He just let me in on some things because I would be part of the plan. He needs to be healed before we can get to the root of this. She kept crying as she spoke. I contemplated making him suffer a little more, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I wasn't built like that. I made to stand up, but Adrian stopped me. I should help him if I want to get to the root of this as soon as I can, I told him, and he nodded. I moved closer to where he laid, but Natalie looked wary, which made me roll my eyes. I'm not trying to hurt your dear mate, so allow me to do my thing, I snapped at her. I could have killed him immediately or had him jailed if I wanted to. If they had treated me right, she wouldn't be worried about anything right now. She shifted for me to kneel beside him, and since I did not know where exactly the pain was coming from, I placed my hand over his heart and felt the familiar feeling I felt when I healed Adrian rush through me. When I finally healed me, everyone looked at me in surprise, and that was when I realized that Jaden and Rose did not know that I have powers already. Oops, I totally forgot. What was that? Natalie stammered out. I ignored her and went to sit beside Adrian, who hugged me to his side. You were awesome just now, he whispered into my ears, and I might have turned a light shade of red. I turned to look at Rose, and she gave me a look that said, "We'll talk later." We all looked towards Andrew that could now move on his own. He looked amazed, and so did Natalie. I bet they regret their actions now. Those sorry excuses for humans, Jasmine seethed in my head. I bet they've been regretting it since they set their eyes on me, I replied to her. So, he's healed now. Shouldn't he start speaking? Adrian spoke up from beside me. Natalie poked him to start talking, and Andrew cleared his throat before talking. Ryan and Lillian really died by rogues, but it was a planned attack. He bowed his head in shame as he started speaking. Yes, you should be ashamed, you motherfucking traitor, I thought as I clenched and unclenched my fingers. Elias had come to make a deal with Ryan, and I was there. He wanted to confirm the circumstances surrounding Lola's birth. He suspected that the Moon Wolf must have been born to them since it wasn't the daughter of the Alpha King. I did not know how he found that out, he said. He wanted the Moon Wolf to himself once she comes of age and finds her mate, but Ryan disagreed. He wasn't going to let his precious daughter be taken away by a rogue, which I totally agreed with. But it started getting serious and I got anxious. He stopped to catch his breath at that point. How? What happened? I asked him impatiently. He started killing pack members. Every day we'd find a pack member dead with a note threatening to kill us all if we did not give him what he wanted. I tried to reason with Ryan to agree till we find a permanent solution to the killings, but he wouldn't budge, he narrated. I implored him to ask for help, but he wouldn't either. If he asked for help, he'd have to reveal the reason behind the killings, and everyone would know that his daughter is the Moon Wolf. I got angry that he was protecting just one person at the expense of all of us, so I met up with Elias to make a deal. He wanted me to get rid of Ryan and Lillian, and make sure I keep Lola till she finds her mate and grows into her power, in exchange for the alpha position of the pack, and promised to never disturb my pack, he finished. I did not know I was crying until Adrian wiped my cheeks. Why Mom and my little brother? They couldn't have been spared. I asked through my tears and anger. Lillian would have wanted to find out what caused the death of her mate, so she had to be taken care of too. Your brother's death wasn't planned, but it happened also. I'm so sorry, Lola, he pleaded, but I wasn't having any of it. You did such a heinous crime and still blamed me for their death. You stripped me of my alpha title and made me the pack servant for 8 years. And you're sorry? You ruined my whole life and still made me feel like a failure for the rest of my life. And you're sorry? I shouted with tears running down my cheeks. Adrian held me to his body and kept rubbing my back as I kept on crying. It was too much for me to handle. I couldn't wrap my head properly around all the information that I just heard. And my memories? What did you do to my memories? I asked after a while. We had to erase them because it was causing some controversies in the pack, and you also saw Elias's face, he answered. I stood up and made my way towards the stairs. I turned towards Jaden and said what I've wanted to do to them since the moment I saw them inside the house. Please, have them locked up in the dungeon till I decide what I'll do with them. And with that, I left towards my room. Lola's POV. Not again. This psychopath is really messing with me. You should go upstairs and rest, baby, Adrian said, and I looked at him like he's grown another head. Is he fucking with us right now? Jasmine asked. He must have forgotten why this is happening, I replied to her. I should go upstairs, I asked him incredulously, and he nodded unsurely. You've got to be kidding me, Adrian. Should I remind you why all these is happening again? I asked, my voice rising with every word. It's already late, and it might be a trap. I don't want you to. I cut him off. One word, Adrian. I dare you to say one more word. He looked taken aback by my words and just kept looking at me in silence. If you've forgotten why all these keep happening, should I juggle your memory? Right now is not the time to be sentimental. People are dying. People you are supposed to rule over, that we are supposed to rule over, are dying because a motherfucking psychopath wants me. And you think now is the time to be protective over the one that's supposed to protect everyone? I spat in his direction, and he kept mute. Are you going to stand there, or are you going to put on some clothes so we can leave? That question seemed to pull him out of the trance he was, and he broke into a smile. I raised my eyebrow in question, and he pulled me into a hug. That was amazing, baby. You radiated so much power, and I could not help getting turned on, he said after he pulled back and gave me a boyish grin. I'll just put a shirt on, then we can go. Tomato cheeks, he said, and went towards the stairs leading to our room. Oops, I just said our room. I kinda like the sound of it. It did not take long before Adrian came back with a shirt on. Not that it made him less sexy. He held my hand and we left the house. Before we got to the place where the body was found, I already smelled the scent that supposedly accompanied the rogues. Adrian? I called out to him. Yes, baby. He stopped in his tracks and turned to look at me. It's the same smell. And it's stronger this time around, I said low enough for only his ears. Can you lead me in the direction where you sense it's the strongest? I nodded and led him away from where the warriors stood. They all looked at us in confusion, but Adrian did not pay attention to them. Nathan followed behind us, probably wondering why we were wandering when there was a body to check out. Suddenly, I heard Nathan shout, Adrian, to your left. Without thinking about my next action, I pointed my hand in the direction Nathan shouted, and a cry of pain was heard later. I had released lightning on the intruder without thinking. My mate's safety was the most important thing then. A couple of warriors ran over to the writhing body, while Adrian shielded me with his body. I rolled my eyes at him, and Jasmine laughed in my head. You'd think he will realize that we can handle ourselves given the fact that we just took down a rogue, she said with a soft laugh, and I agreed with her. I swear he acts like he has amnesia sometimes, I replied to her. I can hear your thoughts and conversations, baby. Careful what you say, or there might be consequences. I heard his voice in my head and suddenly put up my wall. Oopsies. Take him to the dungeon and await me. He barked at the warrior, and they all bowed to him before they left with the rogue that was still in pain. What if he dies before we reach the dungeon? I asked as he was being taken away. Should I just heal him? He should be able to survive it, he replied. Wait, we? What do you mean we? He asked, and I rolled my eyes at him for the nth time that night. I swear my eyes might become permanently glued in the eye roll motion with the way I roll my eyes around this man. Yes, we. We, as in you and I. Try to keep up, Adrian, I said. Nathan laughed behind us but covered it with a cough. Lola, the dungeon is not somewhere you should be. Try to understand me. Do I need to remind you that that was where I spent my first night or two when I arrived in this pack? I countered with my hand on my waist, and that was what it took to shut him up. And that's how you win an argument, ladies. We went to the pack member's body, and it was the same manner of death as the first one. He was stabbed in the neck before his heart got carved out. The heart was placed in a box with a note saying, "I see you're already getting close to uncovering this. I can't wait till you are mine, love." A shudder ran down my spine after reading the letter, but I did but allow it to show on my face. I did not want to give Adrian any excuse to make me sit out going to the dungeon. We soon left for the dungeon again after a thorough check of the area was done, and it was found clear. My heart was beating rapidly as we walked to the dungeon. I felt Adrian trying to talk through our mind link and put down my wall. "I can hear your rapid heartbeat. It's not too late for us to go back, baby," he said tenderly, but I was obstinate. I put up my wall after declining, and we moved forward. The air around the dungeon was heavy with despair and anguish. I took a deep breath as we entered. We had not gone far when I sighted Andrew and Natalie, but I did not get to look at them for long because Adrian blocked my view. "You don't need to feel bad for them. They're getting a taste of their own medicine." His voice rang in my head, and I sighed deeply. "Were they at least given food?" I asked. I just couldn't ignore them. They were good people at some points in my life. "I'll see to it in the morning." Adrian assured me, and I nodded slightly. We got to the cell at the last end of the dungeon, and the rogue was there, still writhing in pain. He looked up when he heard us enter, and his face lit up when he saw me, even though he was in pain. "I see the is on. He wouldn't stop Lou looking for you," he managed to breathe out through his pain. "Yo, you Lou look so gorgeous." He smiled as he spoke, and Adrian growled loudly, but I held him back. "Who's looking for me?" I asked him, and he looked me straight in the eyes. Wouldn't you love to know," he said before groaning in pain. "This is going to be a long night." Lola's POV. Jasmine was starting to get annoyed and wanted to be let out, but I reined her in. I need to hear what he has to say before any other step can be taken. "You'll need to calm down, so we can get any information he might have for us out of him, Adrian. He's just trying to rile you up, so stop growling and let's concentrate on the matter at hand." I snapped at him when he kept growling at the rogue who kept laughing at him through his pain. "Yes, I'd like to know who you're talking about, so why don't you tell us and we'd spare your life," I told him. "I'd have loved to tell you, but I wouldn't survive anyway, so I'll carry it to my grave," he groaned. Thinking he was talking about his pain, I moved towards him a bit, and Adrian followed closely behind me. "If it's about the injury, I can heal it. You'll be fine eventually. I just need you to answer some questions I'll ask you," I said gently. "You're so thoughtful, but I'm going to die either way," he muttered. Adrian pulled me back from him and shielded my body with his huge frame. "Adrian," I started, but he cut me off. "That's enough. Lola," he growled out, "you shouldn't be here in the first place." "Nathan, see her out," he ordered. "Oh no, he's joking if he thinks he's going to go all alpha mode on me right now," Jasmine said and took over my body before I could react. "You'll not tell me what to do in this situation, Adrian." Her voice boomed and everyone was shocked. Even the warriors looked taken aback, but no one dared to speak. "Jasmine," Adrian called out, but she held a hand up to silence him. "Enough, Adrian. I think I can handle the situation pretty well, and let's not forget that I can protect myself if the need arises. Do you need any more proof?" She pointed towards the rogue that was writhing in pain, and Adrian relaxed a bit. "Arr! I just want to sleep in my mate's arms, not argue inside a cell. What were you doing in the pack, and how did you get in?" Jasmine asked the rogue directly, completely ignoring Adrian. "Like hell I'd tell you, Jasmine," he said mockingly, and I could feel the rage building up inside of her. I mentally face-palmed at the back of Jasmine's mind that I was. "Jasmine, being forceful wouldn't make him speak," He already knows he's going to die. We need him if we're going to move forward. I tried reasoning with her. Allow me to be in control. I can handle this, please, I pleaded, and that was when she finally allowed me to take control back. We'd make sure you're safe. You need to help us for us to help you. I tried reasoning with the still writhing rogue and saw the look in his eyes shift from being obstinate to trying to reason with me. I wanted to see what exactly the moon wolf he had been looking for looked like, so I hid in the trees after everyone left, he breathed out. Who? Who exactly is looking for her? Adrian asked from behind me, and I turned to give him a glare. Can you just allow me to handle this? I pleaded through our mind link. He ran his hands through his hair before he started pacing up and down the cell. How come no one was able to spot you? I asked again, crouching to his level. Why witch? He barely managed to cough out. We have a powerful witch on our side, and she helps us to mask our scents when we are going into other people's territories, he said, his voice dropping with every word. Thank Goddess for werewolf hearing. Who exactly is looking for me? I asked him, hoping we'd be able to get something out of the whole situation. I can't say, he wheezed. Why? My patience was already running thin and Jasmine was on edge. She was more affected by this whole thing because a wolf feels more connection to its people than the human side. I wouldn't be able to mention his name anyways. I was wondering what he meant by that when he spoke up again. But I can say this much, he breathed. There's a traitor amongst you, very close to you, he said. His breathing was getting more labored, and I started pitying him. I'm going to cure you now. You look like you're in so much pain. I made to put his hand over his body, but he stopped me. I really appreciate you trying to save me, but I wasn't going to make it anyways. If anything, I'm glad it's happening in a pack. I became more confused at his words. We were made to believe that all pack members are evil, egoistic people, which was true in my old pack, but you've proven me wrong. He gave me a weak smile. I'm glad I got to meet the moon wolf before I died, he said, and I felt broken. Just what has these psychopaths done to get people to follow him? I know you keep saying you can't say it, but can you please tell me the name of the person in question and where they can be found? With a resigned look in his eyes, he opened his mouth to speak, but an unexpected thing happened. It happened so fast and I wasn't able to do anything about it. The rogue burst open and his insides splattered everywhere. Since I was beside him, I got his remains all over me. My whole body was covered in bits of the human body, and I just sat down in it. I was numb. I did not know how I got home. I did not know I got changed and cleaned. I couldn't sleep through the night. The image of his remains was stuck in my head, and I couldn't get it out. I did not cry. I did not sleep. I was wide awake while grieving the death of my kind that had been misled. If only we got his name, another life wouldn't have been wasted over a dead end. Adrian's POV. 3 days. It's been 3 days since that incident happened, and she had been numb. She barely ate, she barely slept, she barely spoke to anyone, which frightened me, to be very honest. It was my fault for allowing her to get closer to the rogue. If I had stood my ground and told her that she couldn't follow me into the dungeon, she wouldn't have witnessed what she did. I had forgotten what happened when Enya wanted to confess 8 years ago. It wasn't that gory, so imagine my shock when I saw human remains splattered all over my beloved mate. I should have refused to allow her into the dungeon with me. She seemed to be a shadow of herself. Even when Lila and the Czech girls came to check up on her, she was still the same, and I did not know what else to do about the situation. Mom was always checking up on her whenever I had to go do something important and couldn't stay by her side. Daxon was speaking to Jasmine because she wasn't affected by the whole incident. Only Lola was affected, and I was starting to take out the frustration in everyone else. This morning, Dad ordered me to go work out instead of sitting around her, waiting for her to give a positive response. I had to be held down by 5 warriors when I almost beat my sparring partner to a pulp. I did not even realize I was hurting him until I was held back. Nathan dragged me to a deserted area and gave me a bottle of water to calm down before he started speaking. Not to be rude, Adrian, but what the fuck do you think you're doing? You could have killed Dennis if no one had held you back, he started. I know that you're being affected by what's going on with Lola, but you need to get a motherfucking grip, he said. I sighed, before running my hands through my hair in distress. You're not going to understand, man. I was just getting to know her, and it breaks my heart to see her so docile and useless, I said before sliding down the wall that I was leaning on. The pack doctor said she's fine and would return to her normal state in about 2-3 days. You should know by now that she's a strong woman that can pull through anything, he said before sitting down beside me. I don't know, Nathan. Even Jasmine can't communicate with her. Her mind is blank, and it's just like she's an empty shell. I'm slowly losing it. I don't know how much more I can take before I go on a killing spree, I lamented. You're losing it already. You're not on the road to that, he said, and I glared at him. It clearly wasn't a time to joke around. You know, we've all been so focused on Lola, we forgot a very vital information we got from our questioning with the rogue. He spoke up beside me after a while, and I turned to look at him. What might that be? I don't remember that rogue talking about anything important, I said. He definitely said there was a traitor in our midst, and we've got to be careful, he said, as that was when I remembered that he actually said so. I had been so focused on Lola, I totally forgot about that little vital information. Fuck! I totally forgot about that. We should inform Dad and probably hold a meeting about it, I said before standing up from where I sat. Adrian? The angelic voice that belongs to no else other than my mate rang in my head, and I froze for a while. Everything went silent after that, and I felt that I was hallucinating. It's been 3 days I heard her voice, so I must have made it up. Adrian, the voice spoke again, more clearer this time around. Baby? I asked just to be sure I wasn't hallucinating. I need you, Adrian. Her shaky voice came through and my heart broke more. I did not wait to talk to Nathan before I changed into my wolf form and dashed towards the house. I did not bother to change into my human form before I bound up the stairs towards my room, where I left her in the morning. I changed at my door and opened the door to find her curled up on the bed, her body violently shaking from crying. I was sad and happy at the same time. I was happy that she was finally doing something other than being numb, but I was sad because I couldn't stand seeing her in tears. I rushed towards her, forgetting the fact that I was naked. I pulled her into my chest as she kept sobbing. Hey, it's okay, baby. I'm here now. I cooed to her like a baby as I rubbed her back. It's okay. You're okay now, I whispered gently into her ear. Is he really dead? She asked, and even though I knew what she was talking about right away, I decided not to answer. I couldn't bear the thought of her relapsing again. She raised her head up to look at me, and I finally saw life in her eyes. Her tear-stricken face looked so beautiful. It was all a dream, right? The rogue is still waiting to be questioned in the dungeon, right? She looked at me with hopeful eyes, which changed when I shook my head. Oh my goddess, I should have listened to you, she cried. I should have gone back when you asked. He wouldn't have died if I hadn't questioned him. I'm the worst, she cried bitterly, and I held her close to me. He was manipulated. If he had found a good pack like this when his pack failed him, he wouldn't have followed that psychopath. She continued crying while I just held her. As I kept holding her crying body, I knew that I had to do something, and I had to do it fast. No one gets to hurt my mate like this and go scot-free. Lola's POV. After crying for what seems like infinity, I stopped crying and slowly lifted my body from his to find him stark naked. I gasped and my face turned red before I looked away from him. Adrian, I squealed. Why are you not wearing any clothes? I asked him as I covered my face with my hands. Through the hole in my fingers, I peeped to see him look at his bare body before he face-palmed. He stood up, walked into his closet, and came back after a while dressed in a sweatpant and tank top that hugged his body perfectly. He took a seat beside me and lifted me to sit on his laps again. Why were you naked? I asked him after a moment of silence. I'm sorry. I did not mean to startle you. I ran here in my wolf form immediately. I heard your voice in my head. I wasn't really thinking. Daxon either, he explained, and I felt bad. I wrapped my hands around his neck and cuddled closer of him. I'm sorry for worrying you. I really am, I whispered, and he nodded. It's fine, my queen. It was my fault for allowing you into the dungeon. I should have stood my ground, he said, but I shook my head. I remembered being pretty adamant. I thought I could handle it, but I was wrong. Next time, I'll just let you do the hard work while I wait to be updated on what's going on. I said into his neck, and his whole body vibrated with laughter. Anything my queen wants, my queen gets. He dropped a kiss on my forehead afterwards. Let's get you fed, yeah? You've barely eaten for 3 days. He stood up with me in his arms and walked downstairs. He had barely sat me down when Rose came running down the stairs. I thought I heard Lola's voice as you came down the stairs, she said as she reached the base of the stairs. Hi, Rose. I greeted from the kitchen, and she ran into the kitchen. She paused when she saw me, and I stood to greet her. Hi, Rose, I said again, and she teared up. Her tiny frame hugged me tightly, and I was moved to tears. Don't ever do that again. In fact, I forbid you from doing anything pack-related. You keep giving me heart attacks every full moon, she said sternly after moving back from me. I can't totally cut off pack matters. I happen to be the next Luna of the wolf world, I said with a grin. She sighed and pinched the bridge of her nose. Fine, but you have to be careful. I can't have you getting hurt at every turn. I might grow old faster than I should because of you, young lady, she said dramatically, and Adrian laughed from behind us. Mom, she has to eat before you attack her like that, he spoke, and Rose pouted like a child. I swear those two are alike in every way. She barely ate for 3 days. Would you want her to pass out again? He asked her, and she quickly nodded her head before turning back the way she came from. Finally, good to have you back, human, Jasmine spoke through our mind link, making me smile. Missed me? I asked her and felt her roll her eyes. Like hell I did. I did not miss you one bit, she said, but I did not believe a word. Don't ever do that again, Lola. I was worried, she said gently, and I sighed. To be very honest, I don't know why I acted like that. In all my years of hardship, I never thought there are people who had it worse than me. After all, there's nothing as shameful and hurtful as being the omega of the pack, I said. But knowing that that life was lost because he did not get the love of a true pack shook me. It could have been us. We were in that same situation, but we managed to find the perfect place for us with our mate. It was quite a lot for me. I think my body did the shutdown to avoid breaking, I finished with a sigh. You should eat, baby. Adrian's voice reached my ear as he placed a plate filled with lots of food in front of me. Oh, wow, when did you whip up all of this? I exclaimed. I did not expect him to do that much in a little time. I have the best mate ever. I ate hungrily. I did not know I was so hungry until I took the first bite. I can swear that I've never eaten as much as I did since I was birthed. I patted my stomach and placed my head on the counter. Oh, goddess, I groaned out. I feel so full. Do you want me to get you another plate? Adrian asked, and I looked at him sharply with a death glare. I'm pretty sure I said that I was full. I squinted my eyes at him, and he held up his hands in surrender. Oops, I just have heard wrong, he said innocently before laughing. He looked so happy, so I let him off the hook. I'll get you one day, I told him, but he brushed me off, carried my plate, and went to wash the plates. I made to get up to help him when he spoke again. Sit your pretty ass down, baby. I can handle this myself. Yeah, I mocked him before sitting down again. Watching him do basic things in the kitchen gladdened my heart. I don't ever want to lose this man. Adrian? Yeah? He turned back to look at me after wiping his hands. Is something the matter? He came closer and sat beside me. Clearing my throat, I asked the question that has been on my mind since I went through the event of the other night in my head. Who do you think the traitor amongst us is? Have you given it a thought? Lola's POV. He looked at me for what seemed like eternity before he sighed and looked away. Lola, I thought you were not going to involve yourself in things like this anymore? He asked as he rubbed his hand over his face, and I pouted. I said I was going to stay away from the dangerous parts. I did not say I wouldn't ask for information and updates. I crossed my hands over my chest. I haven't been able to give it much thought. I've been occupied by you and your condition. I've been totally useless for the past 3 days, he said. We can do it now then. Let's go meet with Jaden and talk to him. I stood up and took his hand in mine. I should contact Nathan and tell him to be here with his father as soon as possible, he said, but I stopped him. No. He looked at me quizzically. No, you can't call them here. I rushed out. But they're the beta and next in line for the beta position. He tried to explain to me, but I wasn't backing down. And the rogue clearly said the traitor is someone amongst us. That means we can't trust anyone, no one at all, Adrian. You should know that. I argued with my hands crossed over my chest, and he sighed. You're right, he said before his eyes glazed over, indicating he was mind-linking someone. Ah! The nerves of this alpha. Dad is in the study, he said after his eyes became focused again. Oh, okay. We should go and see him then. I actually thought he was mind-linking Nathan after I told him not to. No, I wasn't. Have some faith in me, baby. His voice rang in my head, and I became slightly red from embarrassment. Who was I kidding? I was totally red from being caught. We left the kitchen and went towards Jaden's study. Adrian did not knock before he entered, and I just followed behind him. Jaden gave me a smile with a little head nod when I entered the room, which I returned with a bow. It's the second time I'll be entering the study, and it still amazes me. It's nice to see you're back with us, Lola, Jaden said when we finally sat down. This one right here almost went on a rampage. He pointed at Adrian, whose ear tips became red. I'm so sorry for causing trouble and worries every now and then. I gently apologized, and he waved me off. You said you were going to discuss something important. He faced Adrian, who nodded before speaking. Yeah, I totally forgot about it until Nathan reminded me today, he started. The rogue we caught said we have a traitor amongst us, Jaden growled at the word traitor. Who would dare to give out important pack information to a common rogue? He asked no one in particular. Dad, I'm sure we'll find a way around this. Let's hold a mating ceremony for Lola and I, Adrian said, and I looked at him in shock. We definitely did not discuss that. Where is the mating ceremony coming from? What is a mating ceremony to start with? I asked him through our mind link. Can you trust me, baby? We'll definitely find the traitor. I just need you to trust me, he replied, and I went silent. My mind wandered to what a mating ceremony might be. He already marked me. What is a mating ceremony, then? No, it can't be. A mating ceremony is not what you told me, right? I asked, referring to the part where I mark him too, and he chuckled in my head. No, of course not, baby. I only want to keep your beautiful moans of pleasure for my ears alone. I looked at his face, and he smirked briefly at me before turning back to Jaden like he did not just say something naughty. It's decided. We're going to hold it in 2 weeks' time. I'm sure everyone would like to meet their new Luna also, Jaden said, giving me a small smile, and I smiled back even though I was freaking out on the inside. Everyone would like to meet their new Luna? What did I miss? How did we go from looking for the traitor to me suddenly being in the spotlight? You're overthinking this. I'm getting dizzy from listening to your thoughts, Adrian said, and I glared at him. That serves you right. You should stop listening to my thoughts then. I nearly poked my tongue out at him, but I remembered we were seated in front of Jaden and put myself in check. It will go well, baby. The people are going to love you and be happy to have you as their Luna. Adrian assured me through our mind link, and I hummed in agreement. We'll take our leave if that will be all. I'm sure Mom will have a field day with this news. Adrian stood up as he finished talking, and I stood up too. Lola better be prepared for what's about to come, Jaden joked, and I gulped. Deep down, I knew they were right. Rose was going to make a big deal out of this. We had barely reached the living room when she came downstairs, really excited. I looked at Adrian with wide eyes, but that traitor shook his head before backing away slowly. You're leaving me with her? Oh, come on, I said, but he kept backing away. Sorry, you're alone in this. He turned away and went upstairs, not looking behind once. You're going to pay for this, I called out after him, but he did not respond. Lola, she squealed excitedly, and I put on a smile. I wouldn't like to offend her, and it definitely looks like a big deal to her. Jaden just told me your mating ceremony is in 2 weeks. I nodded at her words, making her squeal like a teenager. Finally. Oh, we're going to have so much fun planning this, she said. First, we're going to. The rest of the day passed by in a blur. An appointment was set up at Serena's spa. She made me choose from a series of hair designs. Clothes were not left behind either. It was crazy, and if I thought Lila was crazy when it comes to picking clothes and fashion, Rose was definitely crazier. When I finally escaped from Rose after dinner, I was ready to pass out. Who knew sitting down, just listening to someone talk your ear off and make decisions could be so tiring? Well, it definitely is. I gave Adrian the cold shoulder and just went to sleep straight. I was tired and slightly annoyed he left me alone, so I ignored him and slept. I'll deal with it in the morning. Lola's POV. It was a new dawn, and I thought the craziness would have died down, but it got worse. The little bit of peace I had was before I went down for breakfast. Lola, we're going to be going to the pack house later today. Rose started speaking when I stood up to do the dishes, on which I refused Adrian's help because I was still annoyed with him. Why do we need to go? I asked, dreading her answer. Girl, I don't want to see so many confusing colors and designs again. I'm still recovering from doing such yesterday. Jasmine whined in my head, and I totally agreed. Lila and the girls will be there. We'll need to decide on the foods, decorations, theme, and a lot more. Everything needs to be picked out and sorted, she replied, happily wiping at the counter she was cleaning. It's still like 2 weeks away. Can't we just take it one at a time and chill out? I asked. I made the mistake of looking at her and saw that she was already glaring daggers at the back of my head. Of course we should do everything on time, I laughed nervously. I should go and get ready once I'm done doing the dishes. I rushed out and continued doing the dishes. You made the right choice, Pumpkin. Delaying decisions like this can cause a large-minute disaster. Your day has to be perfect, just the way you are. She came over to pinch my cheeks before leaving the kitchen. Oh, be ready before 12 p.m. With that, she walked gracefully out of the kitchen and I sighed. I did not know how I felt about the whole thing. First off, I did not know what the mating ceremony is about, and we're planning a huge party because of it, and I'm also thrown into the preparations that come with it. I guess we're not getting away today also, Jasmine whined. Yes, Jasmine. We'll be thrown into the frenzy for the next 2 weeks, I told her, and she growled. Adrian came back to the kitchen when I was almost done with the dishes and hugged me from the back, making my heartbeat speed up. You're still mad at me? He whispered huskily in my ears. I almost forgot what he did until he bit my earlobes to bring me out of my thoughts. Isn't that obvious? I managed to croak out, and he chuckled. I'm sorry, baby. There's nothing I could have done to get you out of that situation. Mom can be scary when she's planning a party, he said before his mouth wandered to my mark to place a kiss on it, making pleasure course through my veins. How can I stay mad at this man when he keeps doing that? Trust me, I've witnessed it firsthand. But you could have said I was still recovering, I breathed out. And stop doing that, you're not being fair. I moaned out, but he kept on kissing the same spot. This man will be the death of me. I remembered that I had to be at the pack house with Rose in a few hours and pushed him away from me. He gave me puppy eyes, but I neglected him and tried to finish washing the plates in record time. What's the time? I asked when it looked like I won't be able to finish it before she said it's time to go. It's 11:13 a.m. Why do you ask? He said from where he sat after I pushed him away from me. Oh shit. Can you please finish this up for me? I have to go get ready. I hurriedly rinsed my hands and ran out of the kitchen. Hey, this is not fair, he called out. I love you, I shouted back before dashing into my room. I was about to enter the bathroom when I remembered that I said I loved him. Oh no, what did I just do? My cheeks heated up and I covered my face. What if he thinks I'm obsessed with him or crazy? What if he thinks it's too early to say the L word? I screamed internally. Don't you think you're being too dramatic? Jasmine asked in my head. He's our mate, Dumbo. These words should have been exchanged since we first met. And how are you so sure he doesn't feel the same for you? She said. Besides, he worships the ground you walk on. You shouldn't have any second thoughts about how he feels about you. Jasmine was right. I shouldn't feel embarrassed for telling my mate that I loved him. Just a little reminder that Rose will be calling for you any moment from now, and you will be in deep trouble if she doesn't see that you're ready to go. That was all the reminder I needed to bathe at the speed of light and dress up quicker than a lighting passes through the sky. I settled on a deep red blouse with cream-colored maxi skirt and finished it off with a black sandal. I left my hair down in waves and used a black headband to keep it in place. I picked up my phone in Adrian's room and opened it to find tons of messages from Lola and the girls which I did not bother opening or replying to. They'd chew me out when we finally see each other, but I could live with that. I reached the living room the same time Rose decided to call me. "You look gorgeous, baby," Adrian complimented me. "Thank you," I said as I shyly brushed my hair behind my ear. Now, Rose said, breaking up the moment. "It's nice to see you being cute with each other, but we have to go now if we're going to get anything done." She spoke before reaching over to carry her bag that was lying on the sofa. Adrian looked like he was going to say something, but decided against it. He hugged me closer to his body and placed a gentle kiss on my forehead. "I'll see you later, baby. Be good and have fun." He pulled back from me after that. Rose took me hand in hers, and we left the house together. It's going to be a long day, especially when I have to face the girls, Lola's POV. Lila, Lotana, and Avianca were the first people I saw as we got closer to the pack house. I'm definitely getting chewed up today, I thought. Rose must have sensed the direction my thinking went because she chuckled beside me. I told them to wait outside the pack house for us. "And I definitely warned them against blowing up on your face," she said. At the mention of blowing up on your face, my breathing became rapid and I felt like I was being choked. Memories of that rogue blowing up came to the forefront of my mind and I gasped. "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Oh goddess, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have used those words," she said apologetically, and I wanted to tell her that I was fine, but I couldn't speak up. It felt like my lungs were being pressed on. Panic attack? But I was fine up till that moment. Lola, Lotana, and Avianca must have seen the scene, or Rose must have summoned them because they ran towards us and supported me. "Let's get her inside. She must be experiencing a panic attack," she ordered the girls, and they looked at her in confusion. "Why is she suddenly having a panic attack?" Lotana asked as I was being taken into the pack house. I might have said something regarding the incident that happened recently. "Quick, let's get her to a room." She ordered, and they all led me to our hangout space in the pack house, Lila's former room. I could hear them perfectly fine, but I found it difficult to speak. It took a while before I could regain my speaking ability. They all looked worried, and I felt so bad. All I seem to cause nowadays is worry for people around me. "I'm sorry for causing worry for everyone." I spoke lowly, and their expressions changed. Their initial frowns were replaced with large smiles and excited sounds left their lips. I was pulled into a group hug and I laughed heartily. How I've missed this with my friends. "You are going to suffocate her if you don't break up the hug," Rose said. "Lila, be careful. You're pregnant," she said sternly before we eventually pulled away from one another. The smiles on our faces were huge and bright, nevertheless. "I'd come back later to check on you once you're well rested," Rose spoke, looking at me directly, and I nodded. She left the room after what she said. We waited for a while before we all burst into excited squeals again. Lila was the first to hit me. "Ouch! What was that for?" I asked while rubbing my shoulder. "Don't you ever do that again. You scared us," she said. I smiled at her and held her hands. "I'm sorry, ladies. It wasn't my intention to make you worry at all," I said as I looked at all of their faces. "I won't allow that to happen anymore, okay?" I did a puppy face as I looked at them expectantly. "Finey, you better not do that again." Avianca was the first to break. "Lila almost lost my goddaughter from worrying too much," Lotana added. Avianca turned to face her with her hands on her hips. Excuse you, miss. This right here," she pointed to Lila's belly, "is my daughter." They kept arguing back and forth. Lila sat down beside me and we kept looking at them. "Athlete, you're a bit sane. These two almost drove me insane with their constant talks and banters," she said at the same time they stopped bantering and looked at her with a glare. "Oops. You guys did not miss me? You've been fighting non-stop since I got here. Fill me in. Did anything happen when I was gone?" I asked. These girls made me love tea so much, and I wasn't even talking about real tea. "Girl, Faye has been going around telling people she's going to be the new Luna," Avianca piped up. I was shocked by the nerves of her. She's no longer limping, and now she acts like a queen. She doesn't do that when Adrian is around, though, Lotana added. It's like she knows something that everyone doesn't know. I bet she's going to go crazy when she knows you're having a mating ceremony. Lila clapped excitedly, and the girls joined in. I swear I'm going to have that bitch's head on a pole and hang in the center of the pack. She's getting on my nerves, Jasmine growled in my head, but that wasn't what I was focused on. A traitor is amongst you. A traitor is amongst you. The rogue's word kept ringing in my head. I contemplated telling Adrian, but I felt like I was just overreacting. Sure, she might be an obsessed psychopath, but she can't be crazy enough to sell out the pack she wants to rule over, right? I sighed and rubbed my hand over my face in frustration. By the way, I love the clothes combination. Looks like Lila awakened the fashionista in you. Girl, you look so hot. How did Adrian let you out of the house? Avianca, always energized, spoke rapidly, and Lotana nodded. I particularly like her top. Did you get this when we went to? Oh, goddess! You got marked, Lila shouted. That was when it dawned on me that I did not tell them about the mark. I knew her scent changed, but I did not even think about her getting marked at all. Ooh, who knew our innocent baby girl had it in her? Lotana added, and my face became red. No, it's definitely not like that. We haven't completed the mating process. I covered my face after speaking, and they all laughed. Yeah, it's just a matter of time before it gets done. Avianca patted my back, and I glared at her, making everyone laugh. Guys, I know Rose said you should rest well, but I can bet on Nathan's left ear that she's going to barge in here anytime and pull us out to prepare, Lila said as she stood up. Now, let's get our butt out there before Rose comes to look for us. She pointed towards the door, and we all grudgingly left. We passed Faye on our way out. She was with her minions and tried to look intimidating, but I did not spare her another glance. The possibility of her being the traitor weighed heavily on my mind, but I decided that I was going to trust Adrian and allow him take charge of fishing them out. With that in mind, I went about my day with my girls. Lola's POV. 2 weeks passed in a blink of an eye, but I wouldn't say the same for the stress that came with it. Clothes were sized and resized, colored were picked and changed at almost every angle. Rose, I, and the girls all made a trip to Serena's spa to get massages. My nails were done and my hair was ready too. Rose was picky over everything, and all I wanted was some peace. The only time I got to rest was in my mate's arms. He would hold me after a long day and rub my legs, back, or any part of my body that I complained about. I was so grateful for the gift of him. Once or twice, the innocent massages turned into something else, but Adrian never did what I wasn't ready for. He was attentive, loving, and caring. I eventually figured out what the mating ceremony was about. It was basically an event where the next alpha marks his Luna before the whole pack, to signify that they're one before being crowned the next alpha and Luna of the pack. But since Adrian already marked me privately, because he claimed that it was supposed to be something between mates alone, we were just going to be crowned the new alpha and Luna. Apart from the event preparations, I had to visit many elders before that day and introduce myself properly to them. I visited the orphanage and did some charity work too. Half of the pack, if not all, knows that I was going to be the Luna even before the official announcement. I had met Faye briefly on 1 or 2 occasions, and she looked like she wanted me dead when I saw her. I totally ignored her, but the fact that she could be the one selling out the pack weighed heavily on my mind. Adrian was also making preparations, but all he has to do was pick out a suit, which he made me do. I was excited for it, I wasn't going to lie, but the nerves outweighed my excitement. Although people acknowledged me as their Luna already, there's this nagging feeling at the back of my mind that it was going to be ruined for me, but I shook it off. A day before the ceremony, Rose insisted that we do not sleep in the same room because, according to her, it's bad luck. She said it's similar to a wedding in the human world, and we shouldn't jinx the ceremony by sleeping in the same room the night before. She'd have made me stay in the pack house with the girl as still lived there, so she made us sleep in separate rooms instead. I couldn't sleep all night due to 2 things. Firstly, I was so used to sleeping beside Adrian, engulfed in his body warmth, that it was so hard for me to sleep in my bed. Wearing his shirt so I could be engulfed in his scent did not do much except make me relaxed, but I wasn't relaxed enough to sleep. Secondly, I was so worried about the events that might happen. Adrian hasn't been giving me information on how finding the traitor was going, but I just felt like something was going to ruin the day for me. "You're still up?" Adrian's voice rang in my head and I smiled. "It's good to know that I'm not the only one having trouble sleeping. Missing me?" I teased him. "You bet I am. Why did Mom have to bring up this superstition to make us stay away from each other?" He groaned into the mind link and I laughed. "I can't wait for all of these to be over tomorrow night so we can be back to sleeping together in each other's arms," he said softly, and I hummed in agreement. "You think I can sneak into your room without being discovered?" he asked, mischief evident in his voice, making me laugh softly. "I'll see you in the morning, Alpha," I said and imagined him pouting like he usually did. We talked for a while before I eventually drifted off to a restless sleep. I woke up feeling slightly on edge. I chalked it up to feeling nervous about the mating ceremony. Rose came to get me before I could see Adrian and led me to the pack house without even getting breakfast. She kept saying it's bad luck to see my mate before the mating ceremony, so I had my breakfast at the pack house. At 12 p.m., we started getting ready for the party. My hair was refixed, my makeup was done for almost 4 hours, and I was fussed over. I almost shouted at Rose, but kept it inside. After the makeup was done, I waited while others got theirs done too. It was fun talking to everyone and laughing, even though my thoughts kept going back to the fact that something was going to happen. At about 5 p.m., I was asked to put on my clothes, and that was the highlight of my day. I fell in love with the clothes that first day I saw it, and it seemed to get more beautiful even though it has been altered. It was a deep red-colored floor-length gown. It had a thin strap and showed a bit of cleavage. The chest area was covered with stone. It was body-fitting to the knee before it flared out. It stood out against my pale skin, and I was wowed by what I saw. Gasps erupted in the room, and words like, "Oh my goddess, Lola, you look so amazing. You're definitely going to be the center of attraction tonight," and many more were thrown around the room. Rose walked up to me looking emotional. She took my hands in hers and looked in the eyes. "I don't know if I've said this before, but I'm so glad my son came to his senses before he lost you. You're finally going to be that daughter I lost, and I'm so glad I was able to save you," she said with tears in her eyes. I understood what she was saying perfectly, and that made me very emotional. I hugged her and whispered in her ears, "And I'm so lucky that you found me, Mom." She pulled me closer and sniffed severally before pulling back. "Adrian better be wowed and get emotional when he sees you, or there would be no mating ceremony," Rose joked, and we all laughed. Others got ready, too, in their different designs of white gowns. Apparently, I was the only one wearing red since the ceremony was for me. Eventually, it was time to get the show started. Everyone left already for the garden, leaving me alone in the room. I would be notified when it was time for me to make an entrance. "It's time." The phone I was holding showed a message from Rose. I dropped the phone and took a deep breath before walking through the deserted house, my red veil in place. "Here goes nothing," I thought to myself as I walked out of the pack house into the prepared garden, Lola's POV. Everybody shushed when I entered and my nerves increased. Uh-oh, why is everyone staring at me? Did my clothes tear somewhere? Did I smear my makeup? Is something wrong with my hair? 1,010 questions ran through my head and I felt like turning back and running away. The wheels in my head stopped turning when I made eye contact with my very handsome mate. "Ooh, has he always looked this edible?" Jasmine asked in my head. "Girl, he seems to amaze me more every time I see him. It's like he gets more handsome every day," I replied back to her. He looked so amazing standing there in his black 3-piece suit. Everyone faded to the background, and all I saw was him. He looked regal and majestic. He was the Alpha King after all. I felt him trying to get in my head and opened our mind link. "You look breathtaking, baby." His voice rang loud and clear in my head, almost making my legs jelly. "You look totally amazing too," I replied to him and saw a ghost of a smile on his face. "It's so obvious on your face that you think I am," he said cockily, and I scoffed. The nerves of that man. But everyone is waiting for you to keep moving forward. I didn't even realize I was standing still until he said so. My face became red, and I hurriedly walked as fast as my gown would allow me. When I finally reached the makeshift stage, he held my hand to help me up the stage, sending waves of pleasure through my body. We faced each other, and that was when I saw the tears in his eyes. You cried? Thank Goddess. Rose said the mating ceremony won't hold if you don't cry, I told him, and he chuckled. Good thing your elegance and aura made me cry then, he joked, and I laughed behind my palm. Someone cleared their throat behind us, and we both turned to look at the person. Adrian seemed calm while I was startled. We were faced with Elder Simon. He was one of the people I met with before today, so I recognized him. We'll now begin the ceremony, he said with an authoritative tone, and the whole yard listened attentively. Today is a 2-in-1 celebration for Crescent Moon Pack. The next Alpha is going to introduce his Luna to all of us, and we're also going to crown them the new king and queen of the Alpha world, he spoke, and everyone started clapping. Now our next king is going to take the stage. He bowed to Adrian as he moved forward to take the stage. He cleared his throat before taking the addresser. Thank you, Simon. He bowed to him slightly too. Thank you all for coming here to witness this today. Not like you have a choice, he joked, and everyone laughed. Yeah, but I really appreciate everyone that put effort into this one way or the other. It wouldn't have been possible without you guys. Everybody had a peaceful and serene look on their faces, and it was so obvious that they all liked him, even though he barely related with them. I'm sure everyone here knows how long I've been searching for my mate. In fact, I had lost all hope and picked a chosen mate before I finally met her. I looked through the crowd, searching for Faze, but I couldn't find her. She must be too ashamed to come to the ceremony. Well, after I found her, I made grave mistakes that almost cost me her life, but thank Goddess that she pulled through and eventually accepted me back, even though I have a lifetime of apologizing to do, he said, and the crowd went solemn. Let me formally introduce my mate and the new Luna of Crescent Moon Pack to everyone. He held out his hand to me, and I took it before nervously walking forward. Meet your new Luna, Lola Ashton, the daughter of the former Alpha of Moonlit Pack, he said, and everyone started clapping, some even hooted and whistled. Say something, baby, he said to me, and I nodded. I cleared my throat before I started speaking. It's so nice to finally meet everyone. I promise that I'm going to do my best to rule alongside Adrian. I hope we get along. I finished my speech, and another round of applause rang from the crowd. Now, we have to connect you to the pack. Step forward, Alpha Jaden, Elder Simon said, and Jaden stepped forward. Another person brought a dagger that was placed on a white clothes, and I became frightened. Adrian took my hand in his and squeezed it assuringly. It will be over before you know it, he said through our mind link, and I nodded. I stretched my left hand, and so did Jaden. Elder Simon made a cut on Jaden's palm and on mine too. Now, put your palms together, he instructed, and we both did as he said. All of a sudden, I felt 1,000 voices in my head, and I would have fallen down if it wasn't for Adrian that held me up by my waist. Make it stop, I groaned. It will be over before you know it. Just hang on for a little while, baby, Adrian whispered as the voices grew louder in my head. I tried to remove my palm from Jaden's, but I was unable to. When I was finally able to remove my hands, the voices didn't stop. It keeps getting louder, Adrian. Please make it stop, I pleaded while holding onto my head. Try to block it out. Block it out the same way you block me out of your head, he said gently. I did exactly what he said, and eventually I was able to block all voices out completely. Good girl, you did it, he praised me, and I smiled at him before turning to the crowd with a big smile. My eyes met with the girls' own where they sat, and it became wider. They gave me a thumbs up before I looked away from them. Welcome to the pack, Luna Lola, Elder Simon said, and the rest of the pack took it up. The chants became louder, and my smile became wider. This went on for a while until I saw another speck of red in the crowd. I was the only one supposed to wear red because it represents respect for me, but a woman in the crowd was also wearing red. I looked closely at the woman, and it turned out to be Faye, wearing exactly the same clothes as mine. Nothing changed. I saw her point something at me, but before I could process what was going on, a loud bang sounded. I waited for the bullet to hit me, but I heard someone fall beside me instead. I looked down and saw my mate groaning in pain on the ground. Adrian had been shot. Lola's POV. Adrian got shot and everyone just stood there in shock. "Mate, Adrian is hurt, Dumbo. Do something." Jasmine shouted in panic in my head, and that was what jolted me out of my trance. Commotion started in the crowd, and some warriors went to hold down a very hysterical Faye. "No, no, no, not him. Not my Adrian, not him," she kept repeating. "That bitch killed him. That bitch made the bullet hit him. She should be the one being held down, not me," she screamed as she struggled against the warriors holding her. I was shaking as I looked at Adrian groaning in pain. Normally, bullets are not supposed to have effects on alphas except wolfsbane. He has been shot with a bullet laced with wolfsbane, someone cried, but I couldn't even recognize the voice. I was too focused on my mate. I knelt down beside him, not knowing what to do. I didn't know I was crying until Adrian shakily wiped my cheeks. "Hey, I'm fine. It doesn't hurt at all." Yet he groaned in pain when someone touched him. "My mate is in pain and all you're doing is crying? Do something, or give me control of your goddamn useless body," Jasmine shouted in my head. "You're the motherfucking moon wolf for a reason, dummy." She was being hysterical, but it was justified. "Why is he not healing? What are you doing?" Rose screamed at the pack doctor that was kneeling beside Adrian too. "Right, I have healing power." "Allow me take care of him," I said, but no one seemed to hear. "I said I can take care of him." I said louder, but I still got ignored. "Let me take care of him." I shouted, and everyone looked taken aback before moving back and allowing me to take care of him. I moved closer to him and placed my hands over the affected area, feeling the familiar feeling that runs through me when I heal people run through me. I felt a little bit of pain, but it could have been the wolfsbane effect. When I finally finished healing him, I felt weak and drained, so I sat weakly beside him till he could sit up. Geez, that's one hell of a wolfsbane. "Are you okay, baby?" he asked after he sat up, and I weakly nodded. He pulled me closer to him, and a screeching voice pierced the air again. I totally forgot that the psychopath that caused my mate pain was still very much around. Adrian got off the stage before helping me up too. He lew towards where Faye was, and she seemed to calm down a bit, even though the crazy look in her eyes was still there. "Adrian," she smiled through her tears as she struggled to break free. "Adrian, you were supposed to choose me, remember? We were supposed to be together. I love you, I swear," she rambled on as everybody quietly took in the scene. "I promise you that no one will ever love you the way I do. Definitely not this lowlife rogue," she sneered in my direction. "I will cross the 7 mountains and rivers for you, Adrian. I'll do anything for you as long as you're mine and mine alone. Don't allow a freak that shouldn't be in the midst of people to come between us," she begged in tears, but I just looked at her in amusement. Jasmine was insulted and demanded that she be let out, but I refused because I knew she would tear her into pieces. "We are royalty, Jas. We shouldn't stoop to her level." I tried to pacify her. It was true, though. She was just a power-hungry bitch that was coveting my position. Fighting with her will only bring me to her level. Adrian tried to speak, but I held his hand. "Allow me to handle this," I said into our mind link. I turned towards Faye with a smile on my face. "A freak? A lowlife? That freak is holding the position you've always coveted, while you're just nothing but a background noise," I said, and heard a couple of gasps from the crowd. Someone even giggled. "I've said it before, and I'll say it again. You're just a power-hungry bitch that will never be where I am." The fury in her eyes returned, and she screamed. Seeing her struggle and fight to be let free, knowing fully well that she couldn't do anything, brought me a great deal of satisfaction. "Take her to the dungeon and await my orders," Adrian commanded the warriors. No, you can't do this to me, Adrian. You've been bewitched by that crazy girl. What does she have that I do not? Why are you tossing me aside for her? I even bought the same dress as hers. Do I not look prettier? You have to be mine, Adrian, Oliace." She screamed as she was led away, but nobody pitied her, not even her minions. "I'll kill you, Lola. You'll pay for this," were her last words before she was completely led away. Yeah, she went a bit too far. Everywhere was silent before Elder Simon spoke again. "We'll now crown the new Alpha King and Luna Queen of the werewolf world," he said, and cheers erupted in the crowd. Jaden and Rose stepped forward and hush descended over the garden. The moon shone brightly, almost like the moon goddess was giving her blessings too. A different dagger was brought forward, and I groaned internally. Adrian must have noticed my facial expression because he seemed to be holding in his laughter. Maid of the Year. The ceremony was similar to the one I did with Jaden, only that my palm was joined with Rose's. After the blood vow, I felt more energized and powerful than I usually would be. It was time to socialize and greet dignitaries from other packs after the formal process. I met a lot of new people who only had nice things to say about me. I was commended on my looks and the feat I performed when I healed Adrian. That went on well into the night, but I was so happy to finally be accepted and permanently be part of the pack. We finally went home about 1 a.m. in the morning, but I wasn't feeling tired at all. In fact, I wanted something more from Adrian. I took the opportunity of trying to get out of my clothes to get his attention, since I wasn't going to say what I wanted from him. I was so shy about it. "Adrian, can you please let me out of my dress?" I asked shyly, and he nodded with a knowing smile on his face. That jerk, he definitely knows what I want. "Baby girl, I won't be able to do what you really want except you use your words." He smirked at me, and then I became red, making him chuckle. I looked into his eyes and slowly moved closer to him. With every step I took, his pupils seemed to dilate with lust. I placed my hand on his chest sultrily and said, "Weh, I want to complete the mating process, and I want to complete it now." Lola's POV. I slowly opened my eyes, and I was met with gorgeous green and hazel eyes that seemed to see through my soul. It took me a while to remember what transpired between I and the owner of the eyes in the early hours of the morning, and in a total of 0.01 seconds, I was red all over from embarrassment. "Now you're hiding from me?" "I believe that you were so bold and confident a few hours ago," he teased me. I buried my face in the pillow harder and heard him chuckling above me. I tried to move away from him, but I felt a piercing pain in my core. I tried to keep the sound of pain in, but I couldn't. Adrian noticed and sat up so fast, I wondered where he got his energy from. "Are you okay, baby? Are you hurt? Shit. Did I hurt you? I knew I should have taken it easy on you. Stupid, stupid, stupid," he kept rambling and blaming himself. Looking at his adorable, worried face made me forget what happened to me in the first place. I couldn't stop myself from giggling, and he glared at me, making me giggle harder. "Is this a funny situation to you? I hurt you," he said to me. I tried to hide my giggle behind my palm, but I failed at it. "I'm sorry," I managed to squeeze out through my fit of laughter. "You look so adorable," I said, and he pouted. "You mean I look so manly and sexy?" he questioned while flexing his muscles, making me laugh harder. "Oh, please, stop doing that. You're making my eyes hurt from such a show," I told him, but he continued doing it. He stopped after a while and gently placed me on his laps. "I'm sorry I hurt you. I should have been more careful," he said softly as he stroked my hair. "It's fine, Adrian. You did not know, and besides, I'm not complaining, so stop apologizing." He opened his mouth to apologize again, but I stopped him. "Since you have so much energy to apologize, why don't you carry me into the bathroom? I need to pee," he smiled before effortlessly lifting me into his arms and headed towards the bathroom. He gently placed me down and waited, but I chased him out of the bathroom. His words were, "I'm going to wait till you're done so I can carry you back." He leaned against the bathroom door. I'm pretty sure I can find my own way back into the room," I argued, but he refused to leave the bathroom, and I was very pressed. I instinctively looked him in the eye and said, "You're going to leave the bathroom and patiently wait for me in the room till I'm done here," I said in a voice that sounded strange to my ears. Adrian's eyes seemed to dilate before he nodded and left me alone in the bathroom. I did not give it much thought because I had to ease myself. I did so with a little bit of difficulty. I washed up and walked out of the bathroom still limping a bit. Adrian's pupils were still dilated until I tapped his shoulder. He looked lost for a while before his eyes focused again. "You're done?" he asked, confused. "I was pretty sure I was with you just now. It feels a little bit fuzzy, though. I can't remember anything after the time you told me to leave and I refused," he said, and I became more intrigued. Well, I told you to leave and you did without asking any questions, I told him. Your pupils were a bit dilated, though. It was almost like you were hypnotized. His eyes widened in shock at the information I gave him. No way. Hypnotism was definitely not in the book that talked about the moon wolf. This is so amazing, baby. He smiled heartily at me, and I returned it with a shy smile. We should tell Dad about this, he said happily. I swear he was more excited about my powers than I am. I went into my room to change my outfit while he dressed up too. We met at the top of the stairs and went downstairs together. If it isn't our Alpha and his Luna, Rose teased us when she saw us coming down the stairs into the kitchen. Rose, please stop it, I lightly laughed and she joined me. I made food for you, but it went cold already since you both took eternity to come downstairs, she said, and Jaden coughed slightly beside her. I became slightly red from embarrassment. They definitely heard everything that went down between Adrian and I. You were not particularly quiet for a house where werewolves live, he laughed as he spoke in my head, and I wanted to hit him. Wow, you're so helpful, I retorted sarcastically, and he gave me a big smile. Asshole. You should eat first before we discuss a lot of pending issues, Jaden said, and we both nodded. Adrian made me sit while he did everything. He microwaved the food and dished it out. How in the world is a man so perfect? Jasmine purred in my head, and I agreed. He looks like Adonis, and he knows how to take care of a woman. We got lucky, I said, and she hummed. You're definitely right, and he sure knows how to fuck. She giggled, and my eyes widened in shock. Jasmine, you can't say that. I chastised her. She just rolled her wolfish eyes at me. Why can't she say that? Adrian asked as he set my plate of food in front of me, and I lightly shrieked. You can't keep listening to my conversations like that. I glared at him. Then block me from listening to them, he said before poking his tongue out at me. I swear I feel like I'm mated to an overgrown baby sometimes. We ate while conversing. Our conversation was mainly him, making me turn to the shade of a very ripe tomato. We did the dishes together against his will. I refused to just sit and be useless while he does everything for me. Jaden and Rose were still sitting in the living room when we finished. Mom, Dad, we have something to show you, Adrian said to gain their attention. Rose turned to face us while Jaden just nodded to show that he was listening. Come on, go ahead, show them. Adrian urged me while Rose looked at me expectantly. I raised my head and looked straight into Rose's eyes. You'll go into the kitchen and make chocolate chip muffin for the whole pack, I said. Her pupils dilated and she stood up without asking questions. I had Jaden's attention at that point. Even Adrian gasped. Before Rose could bring out the ingredients she needed, I tapped her gently and she snapped out of it. What am I doing in the kitchen? I already cooked, she groaned, holding her forehead. Lola hypnotized you, Adrian spoke up. That's her new ability, Adrian's POV. She can hypnotize now? Mom asked, intrigued, and I nodded. My mate is surely full of surprises. She looked shy and looked down at her hands, wringing them together. With the rate at which she wrung her hands together, I was surprised her limbs were still intact. I think it's high time she started training properly. That way she can improve on herself more and we can discover more of her talents, Dad said from where he sat. I wanted to disagree with him since I didn't want her to push herself too hard, but it was necessary. We might try to ignore the fact that the war was upon us, but it doesn't stop the fact that we have to face it sooner or later. For the past 2 weeks, it's been unusually quiet, like he was waiting for the perfect time to strike again. The ceremony was held in hopes of catching the traitor, or at least making him show his face, since I was going to be officially introducing Lola as the Luna of my pack. Instead, a hysterical Faye almost ruined our party. Yeah, Faye, I almost forgot. Nathan, I called through our mind link. Yes, Alpha, he replied in a teasing tone, and I shook my head with a slight smile. Aren't you supposed to be enjoying your time with our Luna right now? What do you want to tell me that can't wait? He asked. I'm not on honeymoon and I just got crowned. I need to take care of pack issues too, I told him. What does your highness want? He asked, sarcasm dripping from his words, but I ignored him. What of Faye? Have you checked in with the guards that took her into the dungeon? Has she been questioned or I need to come in? I asked a bit aggressive. My blood boiled when I remembered how she almost took out my mate. She might have been dead if I had not taken the bullet for her. I was on my way before you reached out. I'll let you know when I get there. Do you want to question her yourself, or I should do so and report back to you?" he asked. "I'll come in to question her myself. I'll be there in an hour," I said. "And Nathan?" I called out to him again. "Yes, buddy," he replied. "Check if the Moonlit Pack traitors have been fed. Lola still holds a soft spot for them." I said, and I could picture him nodding his head. "Sure, I'd get back to you on that." And with that, the mid-link closed off. "Who were you talking to?" my queen asked me when I finally focused on their conversation again. "Nathan. I asked him to report the situation at the dungeon to me," I said before standing up. Lola stood up after me too. "I'm going to the dungeon to question Faye, baby. You should stay here with Mom and Dad," I said, and her face contorted in rage. "If you're going to question that bitch, I'd like to be there too. I want to know why she thought it was okay to shoot my mate." Her voice had changed, and I knew Jasmine was coming to the surface. "Damn, she looks so sexy when she's enraged," Daxon said in my head, and I rolled my eyes. Finished Wolf. He wasn't lying, though. She looked hot as hell. "You said you wouldn't be stepping foot in the dungeon again. Why are you suddenly changing your mind?" She looked shaken up before she masked it. She was about to open her mouth when Nathan's voice sounded in my head. "You should come and see this, Adrian. It's urgent," Nathan said with urgency in his voice. "I have to go," I said, and left the house. I arrived at the dungeon in record time and saw Nathan waiting outside the dungeon. The air was thick with worry, and I saw warriors' bodies lying on the ground. "What happened here?" I asked him as I got closer. "Faye is gone. The Alpha and Luna of Moonlit Pack are dead," he said with a solemn face. "Faye is gone? Gone as in dead?" I asked. "Gone as in disappeared into thin air, man," he said. "I met the warriors' bodies on the ground when I got here. It was like someone knocked all of them out. When I went into the dungeon, the Alpha and Luna were dead, and Faye was gone," he said. I pinched the bridge of my nose and slowly exhaled. It has to be that man because there was no scent in the air. I moved towards one of the warriors and checked for signs of life, and they were breathing, just knocked out. I walked into the dungeon and almost retched with the sight in front of me. It was a good thing I did not bring Lola along with me. She'd have relapsed into her numb state. Their hearts were not removed. They were gutted before they got dismembered. A white note peeked out from the mess on the floor. I walked through it and picked it up. The note read thus: "Good luck finding the traitor amongst you. I'd come for my queen soon. Alpha Adrian." I squeezed up the paper and let out a loud growl before stepping out of the dungeon. "Find them! Find every single one of them," I ordered. Nathan and the warriors that were standing around took off immediately. Deep down, I knew they weren't going to be found, but I felt so useless waiting around for my mate to be taken away from me. "Adrian?" I looked up to find Lola with my parents. She rushed towards me and looked me over. "Are you hurt anywhere? Where did you get blood on you? What happened? What happened? I was worried when you left without saying anything. We all were." She gestured to my parents who were looking at us from afar. She gasped when she saw the bodies on the ground. "Are they dead? What happened here? Where's Andrew and Natalia? Where's Faye?" She fired rapidly, and I just stared at her blankly. She made to enter the dungeon, and I pulled her back, holding her against me. "They're dead, baby. They were killed." Lola's POV. It was silent afterwards. They were dead. They were killed. It kept ringing in my head over and over again. I did not know how to feel about it. Sure, they were the reason I spent 8 years of my life in pain and agony. But I did not wish death on them. I did not get the satisfaction I thought I would get from the news of their demise. "Baby Lola, look at me, please," Adrian said as he gently shook me. I shook my head to get the thoughts that were running through it away before looking at him with what was probably numbness. I wasn't sure he could read any emotions from my eyes. "Are you okay?" he asked again, and I nodded. Yeah, I'm totally fine. Let me see them. I want to see them," I said, and tried to enter the dungeon again, but he wouldn't let me. I knew he was trying to protect me, so I did not fight against him. Judging by the strong stench of blood in the air, they were probably murdered brutally. "And Faye? Where's she?" "Dead too?" I asked him, and he sighed. "Faye is gone. She disappeared into thin air with no traces of her existence, he said. I bent down and placed my head in my hands. I should have known that she was the traitor, because why was she taken alive? Adrian made to lift me up, but I held up my hand to stop him. I'm good, I said, but he didn't look convinced. We should never ignore our gut feelings, Lola. Jasmine said in my head. You're definitely right. If I had told Adrian immediately I noticed it, she might have confessed by now. I sighed into my hands before I gently stood up. And the warriors? Will they be fine? I asked him. He looked taken aback for a while before he answered. I will have the pack doctor check them out. He's on his way, he answered me unsurely. I understood why he was that way. Everyone probably expected me to act out and cry over the fact that they were dead, but I couldn't. I just couldn't cry over it. I was more overwhelmed by guilt than sadness. I felt like all of it was my fault, and I was angry that I ignored my instincts about Faye. Are you totally okay? Adrian asked in my head, and I gave him a lazy smile. Of course, Adrian, I'm perfectly fine, I replied to him, but he still looked unconvinced. It's perfectly okay for you to cry. You don't have to bottle it up, he said calmly in my head, making me roll my eyes. What I feel is more of guilt than sadness. If only I had told you my instincts regarding Faye, we might have caught the traitor, I told him. Just then, the pack doctor came and checked out one of the warriors. It's Valerian Alpha, the pack doctor told Adrian, who pinched the tip of his nose in frustration. I thought the witches banned those when we made a treaty with them. He growled lowly, and the pack doctor bowed before him. Jaden and Rose were now beside us, and everyone seemed to understand what a Valerian is except me. What's a Valerian? I asked. I do want to be in the dark on matters concerning the pack anymore. It was frustrating. Baby, it's a type of plant that can easily knock werewolves out when inhaled. When the werewolf world and the witches had problems then, the Valerian was used on werewolves by witches to protect themselves, since they do not have sewer strength or speed to fight against werewolves, Adrian explained. So someone used a plant that has been banned on our warriors? I asked out loud, and the pack doctor nodded. That rogue definitely wasn't lying. They have a witch on their side. How can it be countered then, I asked. The hop plant, he said. The hop plant. That's also a thing? I rubbed my temples. Gosh, I feel so stressed out. Where do we get it? Adrian was the one who spoke up. The same way the Valerian was gotten. Witches, the pack doctor said. What will happen to the warriors if the hop can't be gotten? I asked, even though I knew the answer deep down inside me. They will pass away in their sleep, he said. Serena. Contact Serena and get the warriors to the hospital. I'll try to see if I can help them with my powers till Serena gets here. I sprung into action, and in a twinkle of an eye, cars that would convey the warriors had arrived and they were taken into the hospital. Serena? I asked Adrian before entering the car. We'll meet her there, he said before we headed towards the hospital. We'll deal with Faye's disappearance later. I have to save my pack members first. My pack members. It sounded so amazing. Not only did I find a pack that accepts me, I became their Luna. I have to protect them, if that's the last thing I do before leaving this world. I thought about seeing the moon goddess, but ever since she joined Jasmine and I, she hasn't called me back into the garden. On the other hand, I don't want to see her because it would mean leaving my mate for some days. It would mean leaving the pack at the hands of the enemy since he'd be vulnerable. My thoughts were interrupted when we got to the clinic, and I saw Serena standing in front of it. Serena, I greeted her when I reached where she was standing. Luna, she bowed her head, but I waved her off. What's going on? Why are you standing outside here? Do you not have the hop plant, or are the warriors not responding to it? I asked with urgency in my voice. The idea of losing that large number of people did not sit well with me. I tried already, but they're not responding. I'm sorry, but the magic used was black magic, and I don't know how to undo the Valerian effect. This seems to be stronger than the normal Valerian, she said calmly. I felt the anger in me build up till it escaped my body in the form of a loud, painful howl, Jasmine taking control of Mem's body. You've got to be kidding me. Lola's POV. They're all going to die? All of them? You're a motherfucking witch. This should be speciality, and you're telling that I'm going to lose that amount of pack members because you're not competent enough? Jasmine snarled in her face, but Serena remained unmoving. Jasmine, you have to calm down. I'm sure we can find a way around this. I tried to reason with her, but she was blinded with rage and frustration. Well, mainly with frustration. I was frustrated too, but not to the extent of taking out on Serena. She was just trying to help. Well, she's supposed to be the one to know what to do, and she already said she can't. What are we supposed to be able to do? She asked, and I sighed. Just let me be in control and take care of the situation, I pleaded with her before she reluctantly allowed me to be back in control. I'm so sorry for that, I apologized to her, and she bowed lightly. I understand where she's coming from, Luna, she said softly. All of these interactions was being watched by Adrian, Jaden, and Rose, but they were mute and did not input anything. It was like they were putting the whole situation in my hands. What do we do? I can't keep losing pack members because of this motherfucker. Who will I rule over if he kills off my whole pack? I asked her. No, I pleaded with her. There's a solution, but I don't think you'd be able to do it. She said, if it involves taking care of my pack members, I'd do it a blink of an eye, I assured her. Adrian put a hand on my shoulder and looked Serena in the face. What exactly will she be doing? I'm not putting her in harm's way, he said, and I rolled my eyes, like he'd be able to stop me. The urge to protect my wolves was the most important thing on my mind at that point. What am I doing, Serena? I asked, completely disregarding what Adrian said. Baby, you're not going to be doing it if it's too dangerous, he said in my head, and I scoffed. Watch me do it. They are in that condition because they were protecting our pack, your pack, and I should just watch them die? You've got to be joking with me, I told him before putting up the wall to block him out. I made the mistake of putting down the wall to the pack mind link and almost got dizzy from the different thoughts going through their heads. Most were grieving for their sons and mates that were part of the warriors, making the rage in me to intensify. The Valerian is strong, but it can be removed with the power of the moon wolf, she said while looking at me. That means I have to heal them one after the other, right? Let's get to it then. The earlier we start, the better, I said before making a move to enter the clinic. It doesn't work like that, Luna. I mean, that could also work, but we're running out of time. Their breathing pattern is getting worse, and they might stop at any time, she said. Just then, the pack doctor came out looking worried. They're getting worse, Alpha. We might lose all of them soon, he said. What do I do, Serena? I asked calmly, even though I was freaking out on the inside. I hoped it was something I could fix because I just got crowned and I didn't want the people to be against me. It would affect Jasmine so bad because she was connected to the pack more, and she wouldn't be able to withstand another pack betrayal. You have to harness the purity inside you and infuse it with the hop plant. Once they inhale it, they will be free, she said, and I got more confused. Purity? Purity? How do I harness it? How do I do that? I'm so confused right now. I have no idea what to do, Serena. You have to guide me through this, I begged frantically. I didn't care that a crowd was starting to gather. All I wanted was the pack members to be saved. I'm afraid I can't help you with that, Luna. It's your power. You have to find it, she said and walked back into the clinic. Time is ticking, Lola. Time is ticking, she said before disappearing into the clinic finally. I staggered and almost fell, but Adrian held me. I turned in his arm to face him and saw sadness in his eyes. What do I do, Adrian? I asked him in a shaky voice. I was so close to tears and I felt so useless. We're going to figure it out. Just calm down, baby, he assured me, even though he sounded unconvinced too. I swallowed the tears that were threatening to fall and went into the clinic. Adrian, Jaden, Anne, and Rose followed behind me. I sighted Serena trying to cast spells, but nothing seemed to be working. I turned to Adrian. Stay close to me at all times. It seems my powers become stronger whenever you're near me, I told him, and he nodded. Of course, baby. I'll stand by you, he responded. Pass me the plant, Serena, I told Serena, who handed me the plant. Once you've harnessed your power, I'll instruct you on how to infuse it with the plant, she said, and I nodded. I took a deep sigh and closed my eyes. Purity, purity. I kept chanting in my head before it felt like I was being pulled through a passage. It was like I was floating around in nothingness after the pulling stopped. I looked around and saw total darkness, but amidst the darkness I saw a white light and floated towards it. Immediately I came in contact with the light. I felt like I was being filled with some kind of peace and strange energy. From a distance, I heard Serena's voice. "That's it, you found it," she said, and I kept holding on to the white light. I felt something being put in my hands and assumed it was the hop plant. I slowly opened my eyes and the plant seemed to be glowing from within. Serena slowly collected it from my hands and recited some kind of spell before the hop plant slowly diffused into the air. I turned to look at Adrian, who gave me a proud smile. I wanted to smile back at him, but darkness swallowed me instead. Lola's POV. I woke up with a very serious headache. I rolled over on the bed, expecting to see Adrian, but I was met with nothingness. Jasmine groaned in my head. She was probably feeling what I felt too. "Hey girl, are you good?" I asked her through the mind link, but she just groaned louder. "Lower your motherfucking voice, Lola. It's killing me. My head hurts. It hurts so much," she responded. "I have a killer headache too. I wonder why," I whispered through the mind link. "Geez, it's crazy. It hurts so much," she whined before going silent. I stood up and got dizzy for a while. I had to hold the headboard to steady myself. I looked around and realized that I was in Adrian's room. His scent suddenly overwhelmed me, and I became confused. I was supposed to be able to know house scent before I even realized I was in his room. What's going on? It's been strange since I woke up. First, it was the head-splitting headache, then the problems with my senses. I tried to remember the events of the day before, and that was when I realized that I had to save some pack members. That's true. The pack member. I tried to mind-link Adrian, but his wall was up. That simple act made my blood pressure go over the roof. Did I fail? Did we lose all pack members? Is that why Adrian is not picking my calls? Is he disgusted with me? 1,010 thoughts were running through my head in that moment. I rushed into the bathroom to freshen up before I hastily put on the first pieces of clothing that I saw. It was a black sweatshirt with black ripped jeans. I got a black slippers to go with it and rushed downstairs, hoping to find at least one person in the house. Imagine my disappointment when I met the house empty. There was no sign of life, and everywhere seemed cold. I became more paranoid and ran out of the house towards the clinic. As I neared the clinic, I saw Lila's figure and ran towards her. She sighted me as I was coming and came to meet me halfway. I hugged her gently without hitting her belly as she rubbed my back. "Calm down, Lola. What's going on? Is something wrong? Why do you seem to be in a hurry?" she asked worriedly. I took a deep breath before I spoke. "Where's Adrian? Where's everybody? Are the warriors okay? Is everything fine?" I asked hurriedly, barely stopping to breathe in between. Hey, relaxed. Everyone is fine. Adrian is in the clinic. The warriors are fine too." "You did it, Lola. You saved everybody," she said, to which I breathed a sigh of relief. Thank Goddess. "Is Serena in there too?" I asked her, and she nodded her head. "I'll see you later." I hugged her again before dashing into the clinic. I could see some familiar faces on the bed behind Tendered 2. The warriors were already cured, and my leg almost gave out from being relieved. Adrian saw me and came towards me. "Baby, what are you doing here?" he said, to which I rolled my eyes. "I woke up to an empty house, and you know there was a lack crisis yesterday, and yet you left me without a note or any form of information," I said with my hands crossed over my chest. "You were knocked out, baby. You were out of it, and I would have stayed with you, but I had to come check up on the warriors," he said, but I wasn't having any of it. "What of Rose and Jaden? They were not here when I woke up. What time is it?" I asked when I realized that I did not check the time before I suddenly left the house. "It's noon already, my queen. That was why I had to leave to come here. I'm sorry for leaving so abruptly." He pulled me closer and kissed my forehead, temporarily making me forget why I was at the hospital in the first place. "So where's Rose? I know she's going to give me an earful for passing out again," I said while looking around for her. "She's not here at the moment. She left the pack with Dad," he said. Oh, where did they go? Hope there's no problem." I asked him, and he hesitated before talking. "Moonlit Pack. Someone had to go and tell them that their leaders passed away," he said while looking at me intently. I was filled with guilt again, but I tried to not let it show. "Oh, I see. But is that not our job? We're the new king and queen. We should have gone, I said. First off, you were knocked out. Secondly, I figured you might not want to set foot into that pack again, so they volunteered to go on our behalf since they do not have to play their roles as Alpha and Luna in the pack anymore, he said, and I nodded. That's a good thing, I guess, Jasmine said. I'd have killed all those that looked down on me on sight, she growled. Adrian laughed lightly, and I glared at him. He was listening to my thoughts again. Don't look at me like that. Jasmine is a feisty one, he said while still laughing. Where's Serena? I asked, looking around for her. She's helping the pack doctor nurse all the warriors back to health. Why do you ask? He said, and I shrugged. I did not know whether I should tell him how I've been feeling or not. I didn't want to worry him. I just need to see her concerning some things that happened yesterday. We need to be prepared against next time, although I doubt there will be one. I said in what I hoped was a convincing tone. He seemed to believe me and pointed me in the direction where he last saw her. I met her where she sat down gently in a corner, muttering some words to herself. Serena? I slowly called out to her, but she kept muttering to herself. Suddenly, she looked up, and I saw that her eyes had turned all white. Death! I see death! She kept chanting repeatedly while shaking uncontrollably. Lola's POV. Death? What's she talking about? Serena! Serena! I called her as I moved closer to her and tried to shake her out of her state. She didn't stop shaking uncontrollably and kept repeating death while saying gibberish. I got scared and called Adrian through our mind link since I did not want draw attention to us. Adrian came running to where I was and was confused by what she was saying. What do we do? This is scary, Adrian, I told him. She'll be fine soon, I hope. He said the last part to himself, but I heard him anyways. Serena suddenly stopped moving and became quiet, which totally scared me. I thought she fainted, but her chest was still moving steadily, and that was the only reason I wasn't totally freaking out. Serena? I softly called out, and she opened her eyes. She looked around and became paranoid. Where's Rose and Jaden? She asked as she looked around frantically. They went out of town. You know they're out of town. What's the matter? Adrian asked, suddenly at alert. I was alarmed too. She was talking about death and then asked about Rose and Jaden. What could be the correlation? They need to be called back right now. Call them back right now, Adrian. She was becoming hysterical by the moment, and I was starting to panic. Serena is a naturally calm person, and I've never seen her lose her cool. Seeing her become hysterical over Rose and Jaden made me so scared for them. Call them back! She was basically screaming at this point. Adrian tried reaching them through the mind link, but he couldn't. My phone! Where's my phone? He asked coolly, even though it was obvious he was losing his mind. I left mine at the house, I said, and he cursed under his breath. I knew he was trying to not freak out, but he was doing a very awful job at it. Someone should get me a motherfucking phone. God damn it! He growled loudly, making gain the attention of everyone in the clinic. Nathan, whom I did not notice till he showed up in front of us with a cell phone, brought him his cell phone. He immediately tried his parents' number, but it wasn't going through. He was obviously losing it at the point, and I knew I needed to find a way to make him see reason. How many days does it take to get to Moonlit Pack? He asked Nathan. It takes a maximum of 2 hours to get there, Alpha. He bowed slightly. Girl, it took me 3 days to locate this pack, and it's just 2 hours away? Jasmine screamed in my head, and I resisted the urge to roll my eyes at her. Can you fucking focus? There's a crucial matter at hand, I snapped at her before I closed our mind link. Get the car here right now. He barked at no one in particular, and everyone scurried in different directions. You shouldn't leave the pack grounds. No one should leave the pack grounds, Serena said, making everyone stand rooted to where they were. Why? You said they were in danger and no one should go to save them. The color of his eyes was starting to change and the atmosphere was really tensed. Everyone looked like they'll rather be somewhere else. Adrian was radiating his alpha aura more since Daxon was almost at the surface and it was affecting everyone there except Serena and I. I subtly placed a hand on his arm's DNA and he seemed to relax a bit. What exactly are you talking about, Serena? You talked about Dwath and then asked about Rose and Jaden, And you don't want us to go and save them? We're unable to reach them, as you can see. What do we do? I asked her. If anyone leaves the pack ground today, they would die, she said coolly, and I almost screamed. Adrian growled loudly before turning into his wolf and running out of the clinic. Adrian! 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 I called after him, but he did not respond. He kept on running into the woods, probably to save his parents. Serena said anyone that flies out of the pack grounds will die. Do you think he's going to go ahead anyways? Daxon has blocked me out, Jasmine said in my head, and I crouched down with tears streaming down my face. He's going to get himself killed. I don't think I can live with that. Nathan? I called out after wiping my face clean because I can't just sit around doing nothing. Yes, Luna. He was beside me in a twinkle of an eye. Make sure he doesn't leave, I told him, and he stood there shocked. I can't do that. He's my alpha, and it would be deemed rude, he said, slightly bowing his head. My anger was rising at this point. And what am I to you? I asked him, but he remained silent. When I ask a question, I demand an answer, Nathan. What the fuck am I to you? I raised my voice at him, allowing a powerful aura to slip into it. You're my Luna, he bowed his head as he spoke. That's right, and as your Luna, I command you to not allow my mate, your alpha, step foot out of this pack. Tranquilize him, I don't care, make sure he doesn't leave the pack grounds. I'm too young to be a widow, I ordered him before stepping out of the clinic, the reason I came there initially, forgotten. I got to the house and went straight to where I left my phone. I dialed Rose's number, but she did not pick it up. I tried it again and she picked up. Hi, Pumpkin. Hi, her voice came through the receiver and I breathed a sigh of relief. Thank goddess you're okay, I breathed out and she chuckled. What could have been wrong with us? I missed Adrian's call too, but he isn't picking up. I was just about to call you, she said, her cheery voice calming me down. Where are you? I questioned her. I think we're just 30 minutes drive away from our pack. Why do you sound so worried? Is something wrong? She asked. Well, Serena said she saw ominous stuff about you guys, and Adrian has been worried. I stopped when I heard weird noises through the receiver. Rose, is there anything out of place around where you are? I asked her. No, not at all. We're the only ones on this road, she said, but I still heard the strange noises get louder. You're sure you do not hear nor see anything out of place? I questioned her again. I was getting anxious, like I just knew Serena's words were true and it's about to hit. Pumpkin, you're acting weird. There's nothing. Watch out, Jaden. Then the line went silent. Lola's POV. Then the line went silent. I tried calling them again, but to no avail. I tried mind-linking Adrian to tell him the new development, but his wall was up. I have a bad feeling about all of these, Lola. We should go out and help them, Jasmine said anxiously in my head. I don't know, Jas. Serena said it's dangerous to go out there. I said, I admit that I might be acting like a coward, but I don't want to risk sending any pack member into danger. Fuck Serena and what she said. Rose and Jaden might be in danger and you still want us to be sitting idly waiting for a miracle to happen? She growled at me. She was right. These guys are the closest to parents that I have, and I'm just sitting idly when they might be in danger. Shame on me. Nathan, I called him through our mind link, and he answered almost immediately. Yes, Luna. Did he leave the pack grounds already? I asked. No, Luna, he hasn't been sighted leaving the pack, he answered. I called Rose, and she picked before it went silent suddenly. Dispatch warriors to the border of the pack and be at alert. She told me they were 30 minutes away from the pack. If they don't get here in 30 minutes, dispatch the warriors. I barked out the order. But Luna, what Serena said, he tried to go against me. The rage and anxiety inside me skyrocketed, and I snapped at him. Fuck what Serena said. Nathan, follow my motherfucking orders. I'll find Adrian and explain the situation of things to him. Carry out my orders now, or there'll be consequences. I allowed Jasmine's aura to slip into my command. Yes, Luna, he replied, and I cut off our link. I tried to call Rose's number afterwards, but it wasn't going through. I tried to reach Adrian, but his wall was up too. I was so frustrated and angry that I threw my phone, smashing it in the process. What could have gone wrong in the span of 5 minutes that I spoke to Rose? Where could Adrian have gone to? Did he leave before I could pass the order? I couldn't sit down. I kept pacing up and down, praying as hoping that they were all fine. My bond with Jaden was getting weaker by the second, and that did nothing to help me. Adrian? I tried our mind link one more time. Baby, his voice sounded broken, and I was more worried. Where are you, baby? I rushed out, forgetting the fact that I called him baby. I just wanted him to be okay. Our spot, he said, and I immediately knew where he was. I ran outside and immediately changed into my wolf when I got outside, holding the clothes I picked up with my teeth. I ran towards the path we went the other day on our date. I ran blindly, just allowing my senses to lead me. I didn't stop until I reached the lake. I saw him curled up by the lake, still in his wolf form. I dropped the clothes that was in my mouth and trotted towards him, making him lift his head slightly to look at him. He looked amazed when he saw me, and that was when I remembered that he had never seen me in my wolf form before. Jasmine? His voice came into my head. Is that you? He asked. Yeah, it's me, I replied to him. You look so magnificent and beautiful, he said in amazement, making me chuckle while Jasmine puffed out her chest. Such a silly wolf. I know I'm so amazing to look at, she said with pride, and I rolled my eyes at her. Why are you here alone? This is our spot. We should be here together, I said as I sat down beside him. He dropped his head on the floor in sadness, the excitement gone from his eyes. I'm scared and anxious, Lola. What if Serena is right and I lose both of them? I wouldn't be able to live with the fact that I didn't at least do anything to save them. He seemed to get dejected as the minutes passed by. I later tried Rose's number and she picked up, I said, and he raised his head rapidly. What did she say? Where are they? He asked. Well, she said they were 30 minutes away from here, but the phone suddenly went off when she screamed for Jaden, I told him. I already dispatched warriors to the pack boundaries with the order that they should leave the pack grounds if they are not sighted in 30 minutes, I said, hoping it would calm him down, and it seemed to work. I should go with them too. I will be devastated if they actually encounter a situation we could have easily overcome if we were larger in numbers, he said as he stood on all fours. I was about to speak when I felt a bond being severed in my chest, causing me a tremendous amount of pain. I looked at Adrian's wolf form through my pain and my heart broke more. He knew who the bond belonged to. He let out a very loud howl which was echoed by pack members. It was an howl filled with pain and anguish, and all the pack members felt the broken bond too. I was about to speak again when Nathan's voice came into my head. They came in the car, Luna, he said, and I breathed a sigh of relief. Why was Adrian sad, though? Which bond got broken? But only Luna Rose came in alive. She was seriously injured and has been taken to the clinic. I closed the mind link and got closer to my mate. We should go, Adrian. We need to go and see Rose. She needs us the most right now, I said solemnly. Yeah, we should, his solemn voice rang through our mind link, and he nodded his wolfish head. I was so heartbroken and sad, and I did not know how to comfort him. I'll find out what happened and deal with this later. Rose is the priority now. Lola's POV. We left the lakeside together, but we separated when we reached the town. He went towards where the car was, and I went straight to the hospital. I changed just before I got to the clinic and ran all the way to the clinic. Lila, Lotana, Avianca, and Nathan's mom were all there. I rushed in, panting and out of breath. Where is she? I asked immediately. I reached where they were all standing. Lily, Nathan's mom, was the first to speak. We haven't been able to see her either, but it very ghastly according to the people that brought her in and witnessed the scene, she explained. But that did nothing to ease my worries. I wanted to scream, but I reined it in, running my hands down my face instead. Where's the motherfucking pack doctor? I asked as I looked around for him. My voice was shaking and my breath was getting ragged. It just hit me hard that Jaden was no longer with us, and Rose was fighting for her life just because they went on a trip that Adrian and I should have been on. Where's the pack doctor? I asked softly this time around. The energy in me was suddenly drained, and I had no idea what I was doing. I just wanted to see Rose, and that was the only thing on my mind. Like magic, he appeared out of thin air, and I rushed to meet him. What's the update? Is she fine? What was used on her? She's going to make it right. I asked him tons of questions at once. Rose's bond was growing weaker in my head by the second, which scared the shit out of me. She was the closest I have to a mother, and I was sincerely scared of losing her, even though I did not really show it on the inside. It was breaking me, and I knew it was going to break Adrian more. He lost his sister to these rogues, Jaden was no more, and Rose was on the verge of death. They've taken too much from us, way too much. I needed to put an end to all of these, and fast too. I shook myself from my thoughts and focused on the doctor in front of me. She's alive, but she's not stable yet. She sustained a lot of injuries and she would have healed, but the wolfsbane in her body prevented her from recovering fast, he said. The wolfsbane can be removed from her body, right? You have a way to do that, don't you? Lily asked from beside me, and we all looked at the doctor in anticipation. It could have been possible if it were a normal wolfsbane, but this one is stronger. It's probably infused with black magic. It's slowly spreading through her body and numbing her organs. It's only a matter of time before her body stops repelling the magic, he explained. Those darn rogues and their fucking witch. I remembered how I was able to cure the warriors, even though I blacked out after. I have to see her, I said, but he seemed reluctant. I demand to see her as your Luna, and you won't disrespect me by denying me the chance to see her, I said, allowing my powers to slip into my voice, which made him bow in submission. I did not like having to coerce people into obeying me, but they all seemed to not want to respect my decisions in some circumstances, especially matters relating to the pack, and it pisses me off. This might be harder to remove, unlike the time Alpha Adrian got shot. He tried to speak, but I wasn't having any of it. I demand to see her right now, I repeated, to which he led the way to the room she was in. I took a deep breath before I entered her room, but I wasn't prepared for what was in front of me. My legs almost gave out under me. Thankfully, I was still holding on to the door handle, and that was my saving grace. She was unrecognizable. Her veins were black and protruding. Her once clear and pale skin looked sickly and dark. She looked dead, save the fall and rise of her chest. It looked painful for her to breathe. I did not know when a tear slipped down my cheeks, giving way to others that flowed freely. I looked towards the doctor, and he shook his head like he meant he was sorry. His eyes were sad, and he looked tired too. The whole pack was very silent also. I couldn't hear anything for miles to come. The atmosphere was sad and depressing. I slowly moved towards her bed, and the doctor excused us, gently closing the door behind him. My limbs were shaking. I didn't know how I managed to get to her bed without crumbling. A part of me wanted to call Adrian because I needed the assurance and strength he gave me. Neither Jasmine nor I could bear the thought of her dying on us because we couldn't do anything. I slowly took hold of her hands that felt so cold to touch. I closed my eyes and tried to reach for my purity like I did the last time. I found the white light and held tightly to it. I then channeled the energy into the hands I was holding. The more I held onto her hands, the more I felt like my blood was being replaced with molten lava. It felt hot, but I refused to let go of her hands. I wanted her to survive so bad. No, I needed her to survive. I did not know how Adrian was going to turn out when he found out that both his parents passed away when I could have helped. You know he's not going to think about you that way. It's about time we fully trusted Adrian. He's proven himself over and over. Jasmine said in my head, but I couldn't reply because I needed my full concentration to be able to neutralize all of the wolfsbane. I suddenly felt like I was being pulled into the white light. I refused and held on, but I kept slipping and losing consciousness. I felt my name being called, but I couldn't answer the voice. It was even unrecognizable. You can let go now, child, an angelic voice said in my head, and I allowed myself to be pulled into the world of darkness. Lola's POV. Open your eyes, Lola, a voice said, and I slowly stood awakened. I gasped and sat up when I saw the face behind the voice. A very beautiful woman was standing above me. Her eyes were the color of nature, a beautiful, alluring shade of green. Her hair was pure white, the same shade as the white gown she was wearing. Her skin looks milky and amazing, and I was just shocked by her beauty. Say Celine? I asked with a stutter, and she nodded her head with a smile. Celine? Oh my goddess, it's really you? I asked in a shocked manner, and she laughed. Yes, it's me, Lola. She chuckled softly, and the sound was melodious and magical to my ears. I had never seen her face do it. Came as a shock to me that someone could look so magical. "She's not human, dummy," Jasmine said in my head, making me roll my eyes at her. "Oh, shut up," I retorted. I remembered what I was doing before I got pulled into the darkness. "Rose? How's she? How's Rose? Was I able to take the venom away from her body completely? Is she okay?" I asked her strings of questions rapidly, and she gently put her hands on my shoulder. "She's fine, Lola. You did well. You saved her," she said, and I breathed a sigh of relief. "She's saved. She's okay." I was so relieved I could cry, but strangely I did not feel the need to cry. "Why am I here?" I asked her after a while. "You have to take a rest from the land of living. You already did too much. The wolf's bane was very strong, and it could have killed you if you had held on much longer," she explained, and I nodded. That explains why I felt like I was burning from inside out. I made to stand up, but Selena held my shoulder and made me lie down. "You still need to recover. That's why you're in this garden," she said. That was when I realized that I wasn't in the garden. I was in a room that was pure white. It was almost blinding to look at. I was on a bed that felt like heaven, and I didn't feel like standing up. I looked at my hands, and it had black veins on it, identical to the ones on Rose's body. I remembered that whenever I leave the human world, I spend a whole lot of time. How many days is it in the human world? Adrian must be worried sick. I have to go back to him. He just lost Jaden. I don't want him to worry over me again. I stood up abruptly. Celine sighed before speaking. "Yes, he's worried sick because 3 days already passed, but you still have to make sure your body is healed perfectly before you go back to the realm of living." She paused after saying that, like she wanted the words she just spoke to sink into my head. I looked at her without saying anything, and she continued what she was saying. "You still have a whole lot of work before you, Lola. You can't afford to be weak or unprepared when the time comes," she said. I felt anger rising within me as she spoke. I agreed that I wasn't prepared for the war, but she has no right to tell me that I wasn't strong enough. "Weak?" I asked in surprise, and looked at her like she'd grown another head. "I did not ask to be out through any of this, Celine. It's always been placed in my hands. Every fucking thing has always been placed in my hands." I raised my voice slightly at her. "Surviving on my own after my parents died, finding my way out of the pack after being bullied and abused, fought years, growing on my own after my mate almost rejected me, finding my own powers on my own, and now you say I'm weak?" I wanted to scream and cry, but the most I could do was slightly raise my voice at her. "Lola," she tried to speak, but I wasn't having any of it. "Celine, please. I just want to go back to my mate that must be worried sick. I don't want to leave him alone in this period. I'm sure I can rest perfectly well beside my mate. Let me go back to my mate Celine," I pleaded with her. "I promise you that I never forsaked you in any of these moments. It was all a process to build you," she said softly. I wasn't going to argue with her. I just wanted to be with Adrian, so I just nodded. "Can I go now?" I asked when I looked down at my hands and the black veins had almost cleared out. She noticed too because she nodded. "I promise that I'm with you every step of the way," she said before snapping her hands at me. "Be strong, child." I heard as I kept falling into some kind of hole. I suddenly opened my eyes and closed it almost immediately, a groan escaping my lips. I slowly opened my eyes again and saw a head full of dark-colored head placed beside me on the bed, holding tightly onto my hands. The sensation running through me indicated that it was my loving mate. The position looked uncomfortable for him, since he had to bend his tall frame. I slowly carried my other hand that had IV in it and gently rubbed it over his head, ignoring the pain that ran through me. His even breathing changed, and I knew he was awake. He stiffened for a while before shooting up into a sitting position. The sudden movement made my hand that was on his head suddenly fall onto the bed without warning. I closed my eyes and hissed in pain. I slowly lifted the hand with my free hands, trying to hold in the pain, but it was hard for me. He stood up, making the chair fall back, and came towards me. "Thank goddess you're awake," he said as he hugged me tightly while avoiding my hurt hand. He pulled back, and I could barely feel the physical pain from how much my heart hurt. Adrian's face looked sunken, and his frame looked lean. He had unkempt beards, and let me tell you, I've never seen any form of hair on that man's face. He looked tired and worn out. I did not realize that I was crying until he wiped my cheeks. "Please don't cry. I'm fine, I promise," he said, softly rubbing my chin. Ignoring the pain in my right hand, I pulled him into another hug while crying profusely. It's time to put an end to all of these once and for all. Lola's POV. I pulled back and carefully held his handsome face in my hands, scrutinizing carefully while he cleaned my tears that ceased to stop flowing. "I'm sorry I wasn't there for you when you needed me most. It must have been so hard." I hiccuped before I continued talking. "You must have been so sad, yet you stood by my side. I'm such a bad mate. I'm sorry for worrying you, baby. I'm so sorry." I kept repeating while my tears fell. Hey, it's fine. I'm fine. You're fine. Mom is fine," he said, looking into my eyes with love and adoration. "Mom is fine because you risked your life for hers. No one, I repeat, no one is as lucky as I am to have you as their other half." He kept rubbing my chin while rubbing my arm too. "You're the most amazing person I know. What would I have done if I had lost both of them on the same day to the same incident? You saved my sanity, baby, and I'll forever be grateful for that." He dropped a kiss on my forehead before he pulled back and sat on the chair he fell initially. He refused to let go of my hands and kept looking at me like he couldn't believe I was seated in front of him. "Why are you looking at me like that?" I asked him, feeling shy under his gaze. "Like what?" he asked, still looking at me the same way. "Like that," I mumbled out, and he chuckled. I became slightly red and looked away from him. "Where's Rose?" I asked him. Just then, the door swung open and the woman in question ran into the room. "There she is," Adrian replied, just before she got to the other side of the bed and hugged me tightly, almost cutting off my air supply. "Rose, can't breathe," I wheezed out when she refused to let go of me. She quickly pulled back and sat down on the bed with tears in her eyes. "You're fine. Thank goddess you're alive," she rushed out. "I was scared. I was so scared that I'd lose you because you decided to save me." Her tears were flowing down her cheeks at this point. She hit me and glared at me. "Ouch, why did you do that?" I asked, rubbing the place where she hit me. "Why did you risk your life for me like that? Why would you do that? You should have allowed me to go with Jaden." "Now I can't leave you guys until I see that his death has been avenged," she said, calling her fists. Honestly, I wasn't expecting that reaction. I was expecting her to be in tears and be heartbroken, but she was the total opposite of that. She was calm and doesn't look to be grieving. If it wasn't for the bags under her eyes and her swollen eyes, I'd have said she wasn't grieving over her mate. "You're the closest person I have to a mother, Rose. If I had not done it for you, if have lived with the guilt forever, I'm so glad I was able to go that for you." I held her hands, and she nodded in gratitude. The doctor came in, and Rose stood up to make space for him, while Adrian refused to let go of my hands through all of it. He said I was ready to go home, and within 5 minutes, Lila, Lotana, and Avianca all arrived at the hospital. Lila was carrying an overnight bag, and I figured that it was my change of clothes that was inside it. She looked at me and burst into tears. I removed my hand from Adrian's and walked towards him. "Hey, it's fine, girl. I'm fine now. Look at me," I twirled in front of her. She dropped the bag she was holding and pulled me into a hug. "I was so scared when I saw your veins turning black. I was so scared, I thought I was going to lose you." She cried into my neck while I gently rubbed her back, reassuring her that I wasn't going anywhere. "I promised to be the godmother to the baby in your belly. You think I'm going to break that promise?" "Have some faith in my girl," I said, and she burst out laughing. She stepped away from me, and Avianca and Lotana hugged me next. "Don't ever do that again," Avianca said, sniffling her nose, and I gave her a smile. "Is that for me?" I asked, pointing to the bag that was on the floor, and they all nodded. Lotana picked it up and handed it over to me. "Yeah, we're here to take you home." I got out after getting changed and met everyone except Adrian sitting there expectantly. "Where did he go?" I asked. "I asked him to go and freshen up now that you're awake. We'll meet him at the house," Rose answered. We left the clinic, and the atmosphere was sad. It was obvious that there was sadness in the pack. I could feel it radiating off of Rose too, but she tried to be bubbly and cheery like before. although I couldn't see the light in her eyes anymore. Lotana was not her normal self, but I chalked it up to the atmosphere in the pack. She was the most silent in the group, but she was extra quiet. Jaden's death really took a toll on the pack members. He was a good alpha after all. Lotana followed us to the house but excused herself at the door and said she had some things to attend to, so she couldn't be a part of us. Adrian was in the sitting room when we entered, and he looked much better than he did when he was at the hospital. He had shaved off his beards, and he looked really handsome. Jasmine might have whined in my head. She was basically purring like a kitten. I was bought out of my daydreaming when Rose spoke. "How about I get us something to eat? There's a lot to be discussed," she said, and went into the kitchen. Lila and Avianca followed behind her while I sighed. "It's time to step up and make some decisions." Lola's POV. "Nathan," I called out to him through our mind link. "Yes, Luna," he responded almost immediately. "Meet me at the house in 20 minutes. Then I blocked off our mind link. Adrian looked at me in question. "Don't look at me like that. Action needs to be taken against this fucker. I've allowed this to go on for too long. I can't sit back and watch him tear through my pack anymore," I told him before sitting beside Rose again. She had moved back from Adrian and was now resting her head on my shoulder while I rubbed her arms. "What are you going to do?" Shur asked while yawning, and I shook my head. "I don't know. I really don't know," I whispered back. "We'll also do whatever we can to help," Avianca said from where she was sitting. I looked towards them with a grateful smile, even though I know I wasn't going to put them in harm's way like that. Rose kept yawning, so I offered to help her to bed. She argued at first that she did not need any help, but I insisted, and she finally gave in. She said she did not want to sleep in her former room, so I took her into my room since I barely stayed there, and it would be easier for me to check up on her. While she took a shower, I arranged the room and cleared out the bed. I remembered there was a time I got scented candles from the mall when I went shopping with Lila, so I got the jasmine-scented ones and lighted it for her so that he can sleep well. She took her time in the bathroom, and I knew she had been crying, but said nothing about it. I knew how I felt when I got rejected by Grayson, how I felt when Adrian constantly broke my heart, and I was sure it was nothing compared to losing a mate, the one you're supposed to spend the rest of your life with. "It smells so amazing in here. I love it," she said with a forced smile as she entered the room again. "I lighted some candles for you, anything for my favorite person in the world. Do not tell Adrian I said that," I said, and she laughed slightly, which warmed my heart. I passed her the clothes I picked out for her and waited till she was done before I turned to face her again. She laid down, and I made to leave, but I held my hands. "I want you to stay till I sleep off, Lola," she said, and I nodded my head. "I lost my Anna to a rogue attack also," she whispered. "Adrian told me. I'm so sorry that had to happen," I said, but she shook her head with a smile. "No, you weren't the cause of the rogue attack, and so you shouldn't be sorry for what you did not do. But they wanted the moon wolf. Adrian told me everything." "I'm so sorry, Rose. If I had not been born, you'd still have your daughter with you," I said sadly. "She'd have her mate too." "Oh, silly," she said with a weak smile. "I might have lost Anna, but I got you as my second-chance daughter. And if gladly go through the pain of losing a daughter again to find you, you're very amazing and strong that I sometimes envy how you could still stand despite having too much to carry on your shoulder." She slowly sat up and cradled my face in her hands. "I'm so glad Adrian did right by you before it became too late. You're such a precious gem, and I'm glad I took you in." She looked into my soul as she spoke, and I couldn't help but be emotional. "I'm glad you treated me like yours. I wouldn't have been able to survive without your help and backup. You were the mom I lost at a young age, and I'd be forever grateful to the moon goddess for the gift of you." At that point, she was crying again. "I promise that I'd do whatever it takes to make sure that we get the revenge we deserve, Mom," I said. She looked shocked at being called that by me. "Mom?" she asked. "Yes, Mom. You've played that role perfectly," I answered her with a huge smile on my face. She hugged me tightly, and I felt her body shake with tears. "Thank you. Thank you so much, Pumpkin," she whispered. making me teary, but I kept my tears at bay. "Now, you need to sleep. You've done enough," I told her as I pulled back, and she smiled as she nodded. She laid down, and within minutes her breath evened out. I gently kissed her forehead before I stepped out of the room. It wasn't until I left her room that I allowed my tears to fall. I held onto the wall to support myself as all the emotions I had kept in while I was with Rose broke free. Adrian came up the stairs and saw me crying. Without saying a word, he held me till I stopped crying. He did not say anything, nor did he try to stop me from crying, and I was grateful for that. The reality of everything just hit me with Jaden's death, and I was just grieving for him. "Is Nathan here already?" I asked after I stopped crying, and he nodded. "That's why I came to get you," he responded. "What do you plan to do? What are we going to do?" he asked. I sighed before replying him. "I don't know, Adrian. All I know that we've allowed this to go on for long, and it's time to put a stop to it. Let's start by fishing out the traitor," I said as I pulled away from him. We walked hand in hand down the stairs where Avianca, Lila, and Nathan were waiting for us. Nathan bowed slightly in respect when he saw me. "So, here's what is going to happen,"